To understand the debate, we need to start with the big picture of British manufacturing. Manufacturing in the UK has been declining for decades. In the 1970s, it was over 25% of the UK's GDP. Today, it's less than 10%. There are many reasons behind this shift, including globalization, the rise of service industries, and most recently, Brexit, which has introduced new trade barriers and made it more costly to export goods to the EU. Add in high energy costs, some of the highest in Europe, and the pressure on UK manufacturing is even greater. But the challenges aren't just local. Globalization and technological advances have moved many manufacturing jobs overseas, where production is cheaper, and automation has taken over many repetitive jobs that used to be done by factory workers. So even before Rachel Reeves stepped onto the scene, British manufacturing was already in trouble. But with her recent policy proposals, critics say Reeves might be making things worse. Rachel Reeves has been vocal about her vision for the UK economy, one that includes higher corporate taxes, a focus on green investment, and stronger protections for workers. Her stance on corporate taxes is one of her more controversial ideas. Reeves argues that companies, especially large corporations, should pay their fair share to support public services. But some believe that raising corporate taxes could hurt smaller manufacturers who already operate on tight margins. If a UK-based manufacturer has to pay higher taxes than a competitor abroad, it could struggle to stay competitive, potentially leading to layoffs or even relocation of production outside the UK. Another big piece of Reeves' agenda is green investment. She's committed to prioritizing sustainability, which means investing in renewable energy, electric vehicle production, and other eco-friendly industries. While this aligns with Labour's vision of a green economy, critics say it could lead to less support for traditional industries like coal, steel, and traditional manufacturing, which aren't as easy to transition into green sectors. For some, this shift feels like an abandonment of industries that have historically supported British jobs and livelihoods. Reeves has also championed stronger worker protections, aiming to raise wages and improve working conditions. This is good news for workers, but for businesses, it can mean higher labor costs. If factories have to raise wages, they might need to find other ways to cut costs, which could lead to more reliance on automation or even downsizing. Supporters of Reeves see this as essential to providing fair wages and good jobs, while opponents see it as a potential threat to businesses that may not be able to absorb these increased costs. It's important to ask if Reeves is really responsible for the troubles in British manufacturing, or if this is part of a much larger problem. The decline of manufacturing isn't unique to the UK. It's happening across much of Europe and North America as production moves to regions with cheaper labor and fewer regulations. There's also the matter of automation, which is replacing many of the traditional factory jobs that used to exist. Even if Reeves were to lower taxes and increase subsidies, it's likely that many of these jobs wouldn't come back in their original form. Brexit has also played a major role in this. Since leaving the EU, British manufacturers face higher costs and more red tape when exporting to the continent. Many small and medium-sized manufacturers relied on EU markets, and losing easy access has impacted their bottom line. So, while Reeves' policies may influence the manufacturing sector, there are also external factors she has little control over. Let's consider what Reeves' policies could mean for different sectors within manufacturing. In the steel industry, for example, Reeves' green investment policies might not offer the support that traditional steel factories need. Steel is energy-intensive, and with the high cost of energy in the UK, this sector is already struggling. If Reeves prioritizes green energy over traditional energy sources, it could mean even less support for industries like steel. The automotive industry might be a different story. Reeves' commitment to green technology could benefit sectors focused on electric vehicle production and renewable energy. If the UK ramps up its production of electric vehicles, we might see job growth in this area, even if other areas of manufacturing struggle. Reeves argues that this is a shift towards a sustainable economy, but the question is whether these green jobs will offset the losses in traditional sectors. For smaller manufacturers, the picture is more complex. Many small factories run on narrow profit margins, and if they face higher taxes and labor costs, they could struggle to survive. Reeves' policies could push some of these businesses out of the market, which critics say could hit local economies hard, especially in regions that rely heavily on manufacturing. The future of British manufacturing could look very different if Reeves' vision is implemented. Reeves' supporters see her as leading the UK towards a green, tech-driven economy, but her critics argue that she may be abandoning traditional industries that still play a vital role in the UK economy. Her policies could lead to significant growth in sectors like renewable energy and electric vehicle manufacturing, but the transition could also be painful for industries that don't align with her green priorities. There's a real possibility that as the UK shifts towards green industries, traditional manufacturing jobs could be lost. Reeves and her supporters believe that these new green jobs will create opportunities and lead to a more resilient economy. However, there's no guarantee that these jobs will match the number of roles lost in traditional manufacturing sectors, or that they'll be accessible to workers in regions most affected by factory closures. In the end, blaming Rachel Reeves for the decline of British manufacturing oversimplifies a complex issue. Manufacturing in the UK has been on a downward trend for decades due to global and technological shifts. Reeves' policies may impact the industry, but they're only one part of a much larger picture. What we do know is that her approach could reshape British manufacturing, potentially making it smaller, greener, and more tech-focused. Outro. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. If you found this video insightful, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Rachel Reeves is taking the right approach, or do you worry her policies will hurt British manufacturing? Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll see you in the next one.